All right. It's 7:15 on July 11th. Type B Economic Development Corporation and Parks Board meeting. We do have a quorum. And let's see, first thing on the menu here. Discuss, consider impossible action on meeting minutes from April 18th, which are attached in your package.
Yes.
April is 11th or 18th?
18th. Oh, I'll make sure.
Didn't say 11th.
Let me make sure. Hold on. We had 2 top A's that month.
Luckily, we're top B.
It was the 11th. The correction. Mhm.
All right. Great. Do we need to do anything with it? Accept the minutes and make a motion?
The motion.
Anybody want to make a motion? to
I'll
accept
make
it?
a motion to approve as presented with the correction.
Do we have a second?
Second that.
We're not correcting the minutes, so.
No.
Right.
Just the agenda.
All right, all in favor of accepting the minutes from April 11th? All right, on the number 2, review and discuss questions related to the budget report and financial statements of June 2022.
You guys, sports currently got a fund balance, $600,000. Revenues are up about 35% year to date. Just a little over that for this month. We're trending to certainly hit the budget. We've still got 3 months of numbers left, and we're 13,000 away. So we'll exceed the 500,000 and probably without any problem. There's some miscellaneous expenses for the park, for the getting ready for the It's Your Park Day, which you'll get a report on here shortly, as well as it's mostly the 380 agreement that for the parking lot across the street. That's what the biggest part of that stuff is. But I'll happy to answer any specific questions if you have them. You're in pretty good shape financially.
Anybody have any questions on the financial statement? Next on the list is discussion regarding the current agreement with Joshua Baseball Association.
There are still some issues that remain with the agreement, but I think that, and Dustin, you may can speak to some of these. I think they are working on the 501c3 status to get that back up in order. There has been a change in the leadership up there that we requested in lieu of pursuing criminal charges against the then president. That is Dustin Dees has been tapped to help with that transition for a while. I can tell he's all jazzed up about it, but I guess what I'm looking for here is we identified a few of the issues, and I will tell you that there are still there's one remaining issue that a subpoena was issued for that has not been provided, and that is the records for last year's attendance or registration, the number of players and stuff. We have not received that yet. And so we have the option of, well, I think we just kind of made that request with Dustin. He can look into that, or we have the option to pursue criminally and have a warrant issued for the person of those records and have them picked up, which I really don't want to do. I would just rather not do that. If it's okay with you, I'd rather let you look in, see if you can find it.
Let me attempt first.
Yeah, get them to it. I don't want to go that route and
That's the first I've heard that that's still missing.
make it
So,
worse. Yeah, that has not been turned in. All of the other stuff on the subpoena has been turned in, but those records have not.
So you're talking the 2022 spring season, right?
Yes. Yeah. And all that is just for finance to take a look at. And I'm sure it's fine. It's just a little bit of due diligence on our part. The other part of this is given that, would you want to sit down and look at redoing that agreement now? It expires next year anyway, but we need to clean the language up about tournaments, about which right now I'm inclined to just not have. Those fields are so overused. We've got to find some downtime. I've got a guy working me up a price now to redo the outfield, not redo, but to clean up the outfields, fill in the low spots. Some of the areas are kind of rough. We need to get cleaned up. There's some pretty big cracks that have developed as the ground has dried out, and of course we're putting water to it, and all of the park. And I mean, the heat is just baking it.
Are you putting water on those fields?
Oh yeah, we sure are, and probably not enough, evidently. But and then we'll continue to do that. I mean, as long as there's water in the pond, we can irrigate, and the splash pad will stay open, even though there's some restrictions. We're going to reduce the times a little bit and adjust that, but there will still be water flowing into it. But he needs them to get really good and wet and kind of soaked in a little bit before we do what he wants to do. But I think there's some things that we could clean up, spell out, take a look at, and go ahead and redo that, even if it's just for 12 months to get us back.
I can tell you that right now,
Up to
there's
room.
no tournaments happening. There's no games happening. Practices on a couple fields, a few nights a week. That's about it.
Who are those practices with?
The all-star teams for Joshua.
Okay.
So it's only Joshua.
See, we need to clean up the select teams. That some of those will pay in the association, but not the city. I think we need to clear that up, and it may be that we take people that want to rent the field outside of JBA. Maybe we need to be running them through here instead of through y'all. That's something I wanted to talk to you about too, is to find out.
I think you just stop it in general.
Well, that's where I'm leaning. I didn't want to get there without hearing y'all's argument, if there was one.
Oh, there'll be an argument about it. I mean, I think half the board there would probably want to continue that. It was, for argument's sake, it was easy money, to open up the field, right?
But I'm not sure that it will be if the city starts getting paid, and that's the biggest issue for me. Right now, the biggest issue is the use on the fields. When that park opened up, there were no ball games on Wednesdays. There's no ball games on Sundays. And I think we need to look at going back to that, just so that we can. I mean, having people on it 7 days a week, the lights on. It's just killing us cost-wise.
Whenever I was president previously, we didn't have games on Sundays unless it got down to the end of the season, and we've been rained out all season.
Makeup game.
Right.
No, I get that.
Still never did on Wednesday nights. I think Vince had a team that played on Wednesday nights in some tournament bracket, right? Underneath the Joshua JBA umbrella, but it was like one game, 5 Wednesdays out of the season. I mean, it was.
And I think that we can even put language in there that would account for that.
Yeah.
What we have to do is figure out the pay mechanism. The lights cost money. I mean, anytime that's open, we're spending money. And so
Well, we put a whole new board in place. We have 17 people on the board now.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. Which is a blessing and a curse, you know, trying to get everybody together for a meeting, right? But I think you don't ever turn away anybody whenever it's a volunteer board, because only half of them are gonna do something anyways. So whenever you man it up and you put, you know, 2 registration people, you have, you know, a slew of concession stand people, you have a treasurer, you have this, you have that. That adds up pretty quick.
Sure.
But, you know, everybody that is on that board now appears to really want to make it better and try to make it work right.
So I'd heard that they were trying to get people that were still aligned with the previous president. Have you squashed all that?
That's gone.
Okay.
So it took a few weeks.
Because the deal with him was he completely goes away.
He is.
Because I mean, he can still be prosecuted for 2 years. I'm a little on the fence whether we should have pursued it anyway. I don't like having my name forged, and I like even less when they alter an agreement. I mean, that's a government document, it's a felony.
I have concerns that the treasurer is still on there.
The
That
who?
was on there before. Isn't there a treasurer still on there that was on there before?
She's the one that actually brought it to Mike that there was problems.
Oh, is that the same one that's doing
Amber.
it? She's actually the one that came in here with all.
They initiated
proof.
checks and balances for the treasurer.
Yeah, so I mean,
Two signatures on checks, somebody to check and balance everything.
they already had that. The problem was there were minutes allegedly forged to change the president to the head of the account.
And there was also discrepancies in the deposits.
Yeah. So the way it should work is your treasurer is the head of your account. You have a second signer, which is usually the president. The vice president is the second signer on the account. You never have, you know, non-board members there when counting down concession stands. I mean, there's checks and balances to everything. It just wasn't being followed is the problem from what I can see.
That's what we gathered, is that the procedures were in place, that you just had a few that just weren't.
They just said, we don't really need to follow that. We're in a hurry, you know, counting them by yourself, not turning in deposits for a couple weeks and they're in their car or what. There's
And then-
rules, you know, there's a bylaw, there's rules for a reason.
There you go.
Well, and I mean, they're there to protect I would argue that the treasurer shouldn't even be signing checks. I mean, that's the fox watching the hen house.
Yeah.
Our finance director here can't sign for anything. In that way, you don't have that issue. But I get that sometimes with volunteer boards and everybody having jobs, you may need that. So I'm not so much concerned about that as just while letting people step all over the rules. That's what sent up all the flags.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And we had 2 detectives poring over that stuff for a couple of weeks.
I was really surprised nothing else came out.
Well, they're not done. There's been comments have been made that that's closed. That is not true. I spoke to him about it today. That is not
was the
true.
Word that was given.
No, that is not. The issue with Mr. Buckner, whatever, Buckner, long as he stays away, he's fine. That is resolved. But the other stuff, like I say, there's still an outstanding item on that subpoena that's not been closed out. And that's those records coming to the city. So if you can get that, that's not in the criminal part of it. That's just an audit the city's gonna do. Do just a random check, so to speak. And I don't expect we'll find anything. I'm sure it's fine. But I do think that there's probably some areas that we could sit down, look at the current agreement, make some adjustments and get it done before you're probably not affect the fees that you're paying. I mean, you're already starting into the spring season. So yeah, so I don't think we need to mess with that, but I think there's some things that we could tighten up on the select stuff and tournaments and get that language cleared up and dealt with. And whether we do it just till next year and we do a longer agreement at that point.
Yeah, and that might be something to look into instead of like a 5-year agreement, shorten that up a little bit so it can be reviewed more often.
Yeah, I'd probably, well, we're willing, I think I'm willing to review it anytime they want to bring it up. I don't have an issue with that. It's a pretty simple deal, but I did want to keep coming back and, I mean, if there's a reason to make a change, then I think that's fine and doable as things turn out, but
Maybe relook at it, set it up for a 1-year contract and say, hey, you know, just to keep everybody on their toes there. To be renewed again next year if everything's going correctly, blah, blah, blah. Maybe look at it for 3 years.
yeah, and I think part of the stuff too is that rather than leave it at the city's option for records to be submitted, I think we just have them submitted. When the check comes, so is the roster. And then that way there's no question, but.
Get a back up the number that you're giving.
Sure. I mean, that's the only way that we have to know that it's accurate, and that probably should be cleaned up. And there's just a few other areas that could be looked at. And, you know, we had a huge problem with lights getting turned off, and
It's on a timer now.
those aren't LED lights. And so when they're on, the meter's running. And they would have all 3 fields on and nobody doing anything on. And I mean, I would call Brian several times in the middle of the night, come turn the lights off. But we did finally put a timer on them, which I really didn't want to do. But so they will shut off at 11 o'clock now regardless. And hopefully that doesn't create an issue. But that the park closes at 11 o'clock. That's when all the other lights go out. So we just set it at that. But if you want to redo that agreement, which I think we probably should, we need to get together and
Give me a
work that out.
couple of weeks.
So, do you have a good copy of it?
Maybe. I have a copy.
I'll
Why don't you send me here?
I'll send you a copy of the official one
I'm not gonna say yes until I know it.
without the Buckner amendment, as I call them.
And so I just saw an email from the CPA that was needing, I can't remember, she was needing something from last season as well. That might have been that. She was needing something from last season as well. And once she got that, she said it should be a couple weeks to have everything in order. And then she would be able to have the 501c reinstated in like 2 to 4 months. I don't know. I don't think so. The CPA didn't say anything about it. She said just getting it caught up. So I haven't talked to the CPA personally, but I have requested emails from the CPA via the treasurer to make sure that we were moving forward with that. So I may reach out. I think her name's Leanne. I think I may reach out to her personally just to make sure. Yeah, you know, there was a lot of things that were completely jacked up. There is only one person on the board that was there previous. No, 2 besides the treasurer. 2. So it's pretty much a new board, and you know everyone's having to learn their roles, and you know we're preaching transparency and things of that nature. So
Have you tapped Sinkafeld for anything?
I haven't really needed to yet.
He's offered to help.
I know. I did talk to him prior to me actually stepping off the board again, but
Okay.
I haven't needed to reach out to him yet.
I'm going to blame you for your replacement, so I'm going to need you to stay focused on that when you decide to step down.
I get somebody's husband maybe to step up.
Who's that?
My husband.
So he's a CPA, right?
He's an auditor for the state comptroller.
Close enough.
Good enough.
There you go.
Good enough.
Treasurer still being residing on the board?
She is.
Is that the one that's got the subpoena?
Well,
Turnover, who's got the subpoena, Mike?
The subpoena for the records went to Brian.
No.
Well, the subpoena for the financial records
Right.
went to the treasurer. Those have been turned in.
Okay,
The subpoena that Brian got was for the records to come here for the last season's registration numbers. And that we have not got.
so who's responsible for that?
Well, ultimately, Brian was at the time, but since he's not there anymore, you could argue that he doesn't have access to them. So
Well, who would you pick up if you had to pick somebody?
him,
Okay.
I mean, he's the one the subpoena was issued to, so. But I don't, like I said, I don't want to do that.
We're gonna-
You'll be able
We
to,
can get into-
you'll get them.
They use a program called Quick Scores, and I think it's all stored in there. So I'm pretty sure we can pull out whatever season we need to.
Yeah, that would be fine.
I think we can. Okay.
Oh, I don't know.
My only thing is there's a lot of Facebook advertisement that it's under new management, and there was still like 2 or 3 people that were still on there. And just that, and when it says new management, you still have 3 people, but I didn't know the total was 17. So that's not as bad as what you read into it on social media. I just feel like if you're advertising under new management, that it should all be new.
Yeah, I'm not real sure where the whole under new management thing came from. That just
Yeah,
kinda
I remember
popped up
seeing
one day.
that. I was wondering what.
When you see that they're being, in the public eye, they're being audited and thrown under the bus for money, well, you don't want to see the same treasurer name from season to season, because no matter whose fault it is, that's who you usually blame for money.
You know, and there was a few that came on the board in the beginning that had been crossways with the treasurer, and I think it was more attitude and being snippy with people and things of that nature. But she was backed into a corner too. And, you know, she brought this to you, and, you know, I trust her until she doesn't do something right, right? And, you know, I don't think there's a problem with her. I think it was her attitude, which I told her that's done. You know, we're all adults here. We gotta, you know.
I know
right.
she is not the first person that has come in here complaining, but she's the first one that came with art. I mean, she started laying out stuff, and like I say, it was one red flag after the other, and even more so when I brought the detectives in to listen to it and start looking at it. So, you know, I don't think that there are any criminal indictments that are going to come down out of it. I think it was all just blowing up the rules. It doesn't look like there was any theft. From what I'm told, there's a few things that they're still looking through, but I don't think anything is going to rise. Yeah, I don't think it's going to rise. So I don't think there's going to be anything public go out that hopefully there won't be a black eye to the association, or you'll be able to recover some of those kids. I think the numbers went down into the 200s, I believe, for kids. And I think at its peak several years ago, it was close to 5. You know, a lot of the kids came back that left and went to Burleson and came back. So you may have some that have moved on now, but it's all about the kids.
Yeah.
Parks for sale if anybody wants to buy it. Right, Mayor.
Needs to be some checks and balances.
Leak in the budget.
All right.
Good old.
JPA, or anything else you need?
No, sir. I'll get you a copy of the agreement. I'll send it over to you.
And I'm still staying the course. I'm gonna get everything lined out. We're gonna have a bylaws meeting here in a couple of weeks, make sure those are lined out, everything's correct. I'll do the contract thing with you. We got registration going, the 501c3 is on its way being back. I'm out. I'm not doing ball, I'm not getting suckered into being that.
Just find somebody and start training them like her husband over there.
It's been looking at the bylaws.
Who knows how to count, obviously.
It's for the kids. I mean, his family, we're from here. We want it to be great, but it's a hot mess.
It is a hot mess, but it doesn't have to be.
Right.
You know, whenever I was there before, it was
Yeah,
pretty
we
smooth.
played for you. We had badges. Like, we didn't even
Yeah,
have
it was
badges
okay.
this year to know who had background checks or not. Like, that's super
No,
dangerous. I
there's-
didn't let the devil out at night.
there are
There's so
felons
many
out there on those ball fields, and that cannot happen.
Not this fall. it won't be.
When you were in charge, we had the lanyards, that feel like it's just gone downhill.
That
And it's
cannot
sad
happen.
because I don't want to take my kids to Burleson, but I feel like I'm being forced to take my kids.
If you need some help,
All right. Okay, number 4, discuss, consider, and possible action on authorizing the expenditure of $8,750 to grant works for the update of the park master plan and authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents.
We talked a few months back about getting the master plan updated. It needs to be done every 5 years. The price that we got from the original firm that did it wanted, I think, $40,000 to do an upgrade, which I thought was insane. So a lot of the stuff I've gone through and updated and got lined out. Alice had some history with Grant Works on these master plans, and we have used Grant Works for grant stuff here before, so we have a relationship with them as well. They offered to finish it up for the amount you see there, which with what is left is a very fair price. And it's things that we really can't do here. It's stuff that we just don't have the wherewithal to get done, and they will. So I would recommend, this is not budgeted. We'd make a mid-year or an end-of-year amendment to cover it. You have the funds to cover it. And next year is the 5th year, so we need to get it done now, and then that'll open us up for some grant funding, should we choose to.
And what is it that they do or that we can't do or that you guys can't do?
There's surveys that they help put together, and opinion polls about what equipment's out there, what things are out there. And then it also gives them an understanding of the park, because that's probably who we would use to chase grants. They would help us write it, put it together. They're a lot closer than the previous firm is. And it's there's some, I guess, some internal stuff and wording of things that, we just don't have. We don't speak that language, I guess, as far as those.
In order to help qualify for grants and things.
Right. It has to be updated every 5 years to qualify for state grants.
Definitely changed in 5 years.
Well, and we've used them, and we've gotten some grants from Parks and Wildlife, and there's another grant opportunity on here tonight. So, yeah, I mean, it's something that we need. We just, every 5 years, we just need to do it.
Okay,
Can we make a motion?
yeah, so make a
I'll make a-
motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize the expenditure of $8,750 toward the grant works.
And to have the city manager execute all necessary documents.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Unanimous for the ayes. Okay. Number 5, discussion and update on It's Your Birthday.
Let me get it.
Yes,
Yeah.
go.
I know this one's hard to see, but rest of it be pretty good. Just a little update. We had over 45 volunteers. It rained that morning, so several was unable to come. We had one that drove over an hour away to get here. We had 8 different businesses that were here. We had several church members from different churches, several employees, several elected officials, several board members. So it was a great day. Some of the largest task that was done was clean and painted the restrooms, trimmed the trees, picked up a lot of trash, stained picnic tables and seats around the splash pad, planted plants around the restroom and the memorial park, installed 2 water fountains, and installed paper towel and soap dispensers in each of the restrooms. The concession stand was also stripped and cleaned, so it looks really good. Okay. Ladies,
Wasn't it fun, Mayor?
and hot. Here's just some before pictures. You see where the water fountain was. You can see The bleachers up there, they look brand new now. It's being stained. That's the restrooms. And then all that dust is inside of the concession stand. Let's see. Here's some of the volunteers. And they just kept coming different times. We had a few that just showed up for their lunch break.
A young lady right there in that bathroom in the second frame. She needs to be commended, you know, she
Yes.
just had back surgery.
Yes.
You know.
And she
worked there
refused.
all
Wouldn't go
day.
home.
Yes,
Yeah.
wouldn't go home.
She refused.
Who
And
was that? Who was it?
I've
Just
never
a
met her
citizen?
before. Yeah. And the other lady actually left and went to the store to try to find different cleaning supplies. Was it Kim that went there? Okay. Yeah. So it was great. We had,
Mayor's grandkids helped me pick up trash. We had 29 bags of trash.
And John Walsh got into poison ivy and he's highly allergic.
so he just broke up.
And he left and came back.
Went
Yes.
home, took some medicine, washed off real good and came back.
There's some tough people out there working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It started at 9 o'clock and I think I finally left around 3 o'clock.
Do we know who the lady is in the second picture? that you were talking about?
I can probably find her through the list that I had, but
Her husband, they had some kind of pool service.
Cleaning service.
in the middle picture at the bottom, the tree trimmers, they actually own a company here in town. Him and another man trimmed the trees. The wives and kids drug those branches from one side to the other as soon as they were cutting them. They were amazing to watch.
Long story. Tree
Yes.
trimming.
Yes. Okay. Oops. These right here
Uh-oh.
are barbecue grills. We got them emptied. This is the two big ones up by the pavilion.
Yeah, we've got them ordered. They're
Okay.
coming.
They were well rusted.
Yes. On your left, I'm not sure what you call these black things. It's where the kids just bounce. They're supposed to be bolts and all that good stuff. They're not. I don't know if they're broken, but you can let them straight up. So they're very dangerous to the kids. On the rope thing that they climb, I'm not sure what it's called, but the protective part of it is broken. So there's a lot of wires there. So I believe a lot of kids could get cut with that. While we were out there working and through social media and emails later, the biggest things that the citizens were saying was they wanted updated playground equipment, more shading with seating for seniors. And the little lady I talked to, her husband cannot walk with her around there because when he goes to one side of it, there's no place for him to sit down because he can only walk so far and it's too hot. So he sits in the truck every day while she walks.
When
And
the park was built, we knew that up front, you know.
Yeah.
Money would only allow us to go so far.
absolutely. And then more splash pad elements. We only have a few. We got a few that's going to be worked on, what, like this week or next week, I think. But that's that. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but this is the layout of the park. And then if you look, yes, right?
It better be gone.
I drove down there today, it is actually gone.
It better be. gone.
Yes.
There's no trash in them creek. I drove up in there.
If you look over,
Across the railroad track, can't still,
Can't move across the road.
I can't.
okay, if you look at the playground equipment over to your left, at the very top, that's the smaller, for the smaller kids. It's broken in several pieces. And not only is that, we were told by the company that we got it from, they were not even legally allowed to sell it to us because it's not public park graded. It's more like daycares.
It'd been nice to know when we bought it.
Mhm. Yeah, they replaced a large section of it maybe 2 months ago and it's already broken. Now, I'm just showing you this because I thought it was cute. I have a friend who's a park designer. And I said, send me something that would fit in there that's a wow factor. Well, this is what he sent me. And I was like, well, I don't know about that, but it sure is nice.
Oh,
It
Fit in
does have
where?
wow factor.
Fit in where?
The whole playground, if we took everything out, moved the swings to the middle, if you see it's all ships like a pirate deal. And it's for age all the way up to 12.
What's the cost factor on that?
Probably $100 grand.
Oh, it's a lot more than that. Oh, it's a whole lot more than that. And this includes several $100,000, but if you look, it also no wood chip. And so it's all very soft, very safe for the kid. It's like the safest thing that's out there. So guessing at this, I would say it's close to 400,000. But it's pretty impressive. I had to share it. Yes. Well, the thought was if we get this Grant Works. Yeah, and I've worked with them and I've gotten over $870,000 worth of grants. So they're great at what they do. They're really good. Now, this one here, he said, I've done this one. And this one's a whole lot cheaper. This is like a $65,000. And it's for all the way up to age 12. And as you can see, there's all sides. It's very large. Pictures don't do it really justice, but it's really cute and it's really good for all age groups.
Do they have any in like a train thing, just so it kind of goes with our city?
Yes, there's a whole bunch. Now, the Memorial Park, that is on my top list, and I've talked to Mike about, it's gonna take a while, but I know there's funds out there. I don't know if you've ever been to a Memorial Park. It's cute, but it's sad. I think we can do a whole lot of justice to it. It could be something like this or even bigger or even better. That'll take several years, I know, but at least we can get a start. I talked to Mike about setting up a fund for it so we can take donations and put it in there. Carries over each year until we can have the funding for it.
The one that's there now, I spent a lot of time with the VFW clubs all around the county. They donated quite a bit.
For the park, we're hoping to have more activities in the park so everybody can see it. There's a lot of people who came to It's Your Park Day, so I've never been to this park. We're hoping to have at least 2 movies in the park. We're hoping to have a Veterans Day ceremony this year. We're hoping to do possibly a Christmas in the park, making an all-day event. Working with the chamber on that. Between all of us, I think we can get it done and make it very nice and even have a show at nighttime. And then, of course, hopefully each year we do it. It's Your Park Day. Yeah, that's it.
Christmas in the park. Have we ever thought about Christmas lights?
We've never done that. We've had Christmas in the park, but it was.
You're talking about just putting
put
lights in it?
We
We put them on the building and stuff, but there's not power to a lot of the trees, and to go in there and trench up the park again and tear up the irrigation system again, I'm not a fan
Not
of
a fan of that. We had,
Plus, you're limited to what you can do out there. All day might make a difference, but the parking becomes an issue. You know, if we tried to do a parade and start it or stop it there, we've done that before. It was,
We stopped there.
yeah, it was
We stopped it at church and everybody had to move down there for that.
well, the first year we stopped it there and then
Right.
it was just a mess. So it's just not big enough.
It's just-
Now,
But we can do some things. The stuff she's talking about, I think, can be done.
And just so we know in the future, we have talked to a company that does go out and decorate for you. You basically rent the equipment instead of owning it, so you don't have to store it. And they're supplying some quotes. So we have that now or in the future. That way, maybe we can decorate for the whole month of December.
All right.
In the future.
Yeah.
Yes,
thank you, you did a good job.
Thank you.
Alice.
thank you.
But did we have another date for It's Your Park Day?
No, sir, not yet.
Okay. All right, discuss, consider, and take possible action on installing an outdoor fitness court at the city.
Amber?
Mike was actually approached by the National Fitness Campaign several months ago. And then after that, we kind of discussed it and have had a few meetings since then. And Molly and I actually took a trip. The city of Midlothian has this fitness court here by the ball field. I'm not sure if you've been to Midlothian ball fields or not, but the pictures and the presentation don't really do it justice. It doesn't look like that much, but when you're there in person, it's actually pretty neat. And I think there's been discussions over the years to add some type of fitness aspect to the park, whether it be along the trail or just some type of fitness equipment, but we've never seen anything quite like this, so we thought it was pretty unique. Molly and I went out to the park, our park, a couple of weeks ago to kind of find a spot that we thought that would work well. And while we were there, we actually spoke to a couple of the ladies that were out there walking. There's a pretty good group of women, 20 to 30 women that are out there every single morning working out, walking. They have some type of fitness group that's out there. And I've taken some pictures when we went to Midlothian. I had them on my phone. I was showing them. They were super excited about it. So it comes with an app. They have trainers that come out. We would find partner with somebody in the community or even possibly the YMCA. I've spoken with the YMCA very briefly about it for ambassadors to help go out and have different classes, but it does come with a fitness app, and the back side of the panel of the wall has pictures with instructions on how to use the different pieces, but it looks like it's very low maintenance. It's a 38 by 38 concrete slab. And then we can either install the kit or pay them to install the kit. I would prefer to pay professionals to put it in to make sure it meets all their current regulations. I don't know if you had a chance to kind of look at the presentation itself. The grant itself is $50,000 worth of the cost, or would cover $50,000 worth of the overall expense to it, and that would be provided through Blue Cross Blue Shield. I did go ahead and apply for the grant just to see if we would be awarded the grant, and we received notification that we were awarded the grant funds for the $50,000. So I thought I'd bring it to y'all, get a feel with what y'all thought about the fitness sport, and if you think that it would be a good investment for the park and something a little bit different that nobody around us has other than Midlothian, which is a good 20-30 minute drive from us. But yeah.
What's the total price?
So there's a couple of different options. So it ranges, the total funding requirement ranges from $117,350 to $137,350. So there's a couple of parts in it that we can add or not add. The one that we looked at in Midlothian had the shade cells over top of it. And the location that we're looking at putting it in, there's really no shade and it's hot. And if you're already working out, I mean, I understand people like to sweat when they work out. I don't. Holly doesn't mind it, but I'm not about to roast out.
But there's a lot of metal out there,
So it'd be hot.
pull up bars and all that stuff.
So the shade cells, I would definitely want to factor into that, but also the back wall of the unit, they can either put their standard graphics on it, or we as a city kind of let to put something special to the city of Joshua. So maybe something with a train or something, some type of unique design. So this wall would actually face Main Street, and it would be close enough to be visible from Main Street. So I would like to spend the extra money to really make it personalized for our city, but it's not. Either way, I'd be happy just to have it.
So we would be out of pocket in 92 to
Approximately,
95,000.
yeah, approximately. I'm still waiting on the price of the slab. Kristen, our public works director, estimated it to be around 13,000. In here, they budgeted for 25,000 for the concrete slab. So I think a lot of that would depend on the slab itself. The additional artwork is 25,000, and then the installation for it is also 25,000. So I believe the one in Midlothian is a year or two old, but it still looks really good. The flooring is like that texture. It has the concrete slab, but it's got the rubberized texture to it. And really, it doesn't look like there's too much there that can be destroyed. And I've asked them about replacement parts and stuff like that. So
I was wondering if it's the upkeep.
Yeah.
it's all metal.
I'd rather see that 90,000+ go toward like the newer, the newer equipment for the kids and more shade and things like that. It's everyday use, We've got lots of gyms,
Yeah.
if people want to work out.
I was just thinking something for the
It's
parents
different.
while they're out there.
It's different, but to, take 50,000 for an idea, but you've got to put something in it when you really don't know how it's, how it's going to be received. We're putting more into it than the grant. I'd like to see the park grow in other ways, like quality and for the kids. And I know there's a lot of people that walk the path there.
I was surprised how many.
Maybe something around it or something that they can stop and do a chin up or something, or in a little bit farther
Different
around.
stationaries around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that it would take up a 38 by 38
Oh,
piece of the park. That's just my thought. I'd rather see a tennis court or something, I've told her that, I'd love to see a tennis court out there, but, I'm probably getting too old for that anyway.
it's the same way with the volleyball place they wanted.
Yeah.
That kind of just,
Sand volleyball.
Yeah.
field.
Well,
that's on that would be
And-
atrocious.
and a lot of that is on me because the cities that have them, they're just a maintenance
That's
nightmare.
what Yeah,
People have broken bottles in them and
yeah,
stepped on it. I mean, I don't know that it's worth
you couldn't
the
maintain
problems that they have with them.
the adults out there.
Yeah. Lots of beer drinking, bottle busting, and it
Yeah.
ends up under the sand till you step on it.
But I would like to see some more benches put around different places.
Well, then you're gonna get several things, next month, when y'all get the budget stuff and you get your first look at the budget to present, it's gonna have more shade structures, benches,
Newer equipment,
uh,
safer equipment.
updates to the
Cameras.
splash pad. We'll get bids for that, and the cameras are gonna go up within a few days.
Good.
But yeah, there's gonna be a lot of replacing and stuff that'll be in the budget for you. I haven't got all the numbers just yet, but the splash pad needs to be redone. Some of the influence need to be changed, needs to be resealed, mastic needs to be redone. Just every few years. It's 10 years old now. That's what they told us when we built it. It needed to be resurfaced. So we can change the color. We can do some different things in there with it.
Remember, it's gonna be monitored by the PD.
I would say no, or sporadically as they drive by, I guess.
I'll put a link to your house so you can monitor.
Definitely would take care of it. 'Cause after what I heard was going on down there at the park in the water fountain, it'll be definitely there.
Yeah,
No,
that
so
was,
you don't.
Maybe.
It would be lead poisoning, I think.
Bull. All right, so we discussed, considered, we need to take possible action on installing an outdoor fitness support at the park. I mean, I think in my opinion, I agree to some extent. I would rather spend money on something for the kids out there, more so than, how many gyms do we have in this town?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
for our population, I think that's,
I would like to see benches.
and a YMCA.
I really like the idea about the different stations around the walking track. I think that's a pretty cool idea. But me personally, I would think I would rather invest $92,000 or $80,000 into new equipment for the kids as opposed to a workout place. But a lot of people that like that kind of stuff. Maybe they-
I love to work outside, but I'll be honest, I don't go to the city because of the homeless. I've been approached twice and it's just scary. A mom with 2 little girls out there, I don't feel safe. So that's why I don't go to the city anymore. I walk in my neighborhood. But I like how that would attract more people in my age. But the 92,000, I'd rather see go to the kids, but can we not use grant works to get more of that funded through them so we're not out as much fun? Like, I hate to totally squash it, but I think it's the dollars that's squashing us, right? Because we have a playground that apparently you can't even sell anymore, so it's still wrong to spend 92 on that before we get a new playground. But if grant works can help us out, I wouldn't be opposed if it just wasn't $92,000.
How can we do all that?
Can you
Well,
answer?
like this would be this year's budget, like this is something that could be done in like 60, 90 days and I'm done and moved on. So it's not for next year's budget, but I just wanted to bring, like I said, we were approached by it and I thought, well, it's something different. We'll bring it and see what y'all think. And
I can tell you, if we applied for a grant, there's different ones. There's small community, which we would qualify for. It's 50,000. They got another one, I think it's like 130,000. So there's different levels. And normally and it all goes off a point system. So if we put some money into it, you can use mankind labor, but if you put money into it, you get more points. So even if we wanted to do something like that, we could use the money we're putting towards it, or even a portion of it, a small amount of it, and then include that into the overall park plan design. Now, kind of like that smaller playground I showed you, it's a big size playground, but we built that all volunteers. And it cost 1/3 of the price of installation. The company actually brings down their supervisors, and it was all volunteers. We had it built in 3 days. And it was wonderful. And it was a great community event. Yeah, but with the grant, since y'all approve it tonight, it would take probably up to 6 months to get the park master plan approved or finished and approved. And then after that, we would apply for grants. Like the small community, it's usually August 1st is the deadline. I think the next one's January. So that's something we could start working on and have it ready. So
I don't think we could piggyback those grants on this because it's already grant funded.
that won't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that won't matter as long as we're showing what we're installing. And then we put a small portion, doesn't have to go towards that, just any of it, then we can get points on that.
Is that Redmond specific for workout pad?
Yeah, it has to do with their trying to get people active. It's like I said, it's through Blue Cross Blue Shield, so it's like a wellness type program. So, and then we just fit into their criteria because there's not any around us. They look for smaller size communities that have the parks and the walkability like what we do. So I just thought it was neat because I really wasn't aware that we had that many moms that go out there in the morning. I just thought, oh, how cool would it be to actually give the adults something to.
There definitely needs to be something for the adults, but like there is 4 or 5 workouts.
They were
But then
dancing
again,
on
they
the
cost
splash
money.
pad this morning. They were dancing on the splash pad this morning.
Well, there's
Exercising.
Between 5:30
It wasn't on. I mean, it was at 7:30 in the morning. There was 5 or 6 of them out
And
there.
I'm sure a lot of them might be fixed income people that can't afford to go to the wire, the whatever fitness centers around here and how much they charge, I don't know, you know. But then again, without going into further discussion, I'm gonna make a motion that we table this for a later date, see what the actual price is, and come back and see what we can come up with at that point in time.
Cause you got another part coming in too.
Yeah. More of a walking park in this playground area. Yeah. There's nothing really for the elderly. I don't know how old you gotta be to be there, but you know.
You're there.
But I mean, there needs to be something for the adult, you know,
He only drinks a quart of Jared's all.
yeah. But I mean, at this point, we don't have all the numbers. We can still look into grants and see what we can do. If there is a possibility of piggybacking and without killing it, just build it. Huh?
Yeah, I'd like to do it all.
Okay. I'm all for that too.
We'll have to reapply for this grant, so I don't know if it would even.
Well, okay. Setting all that aside.
Have you already?
If we
applied for this one?
decided to do everything at one time, build that, I understand. If we decide to do this and put the pavilions up and put the chairs in the park for old people and stuff like that, what are we looking at total cost?
More than you have.
Huh?
More than you have.
Oh, 500,000.
Maybe that's what was put to use.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you looped it all together, right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna end up plugging some of this stuff into the capital improvement plan and plan for it. The splash pad is probably a $75,000 or $80,000 part by itself. The playground, you've heard some of those prices. You're probably talking about close to 100 grand there too, depending on what you do. Now you have some money to do some things. I'm not saying you can't afford to do it. But when you start talking about shade structures and I mean, the money very quickly goes, the shade structures are expensive. Now there's some options other than those sales, but I don't know that we want to decorate the park with pergolas and things like that. Putting color into them, I mean, makes it look better, makes it appear better.
Okay.
And so, you're gonna get some stuff that we're gonna propose in the budget that would be upgrades. We just got to get some numbers from the rep factory guys.
Which time do we have on this?
I'm not sure. I'm supposed to get a meeting with them this week. Discuss it.
Surely it couldn't push past our next meeting.
Well, and he did ask me, when our budget runs, if it was calendar year, or fiscal year, so I would just say they've elected to
No.
wait until we get the budget, all the numbers in the budget, so. that's easy.
I mean, I made a motion not to kill it,
To
just
table
to
it.
table it, you know, and go
Well,
on
that's
to
fine.
a
We'll,
later date.
we'll include it in the budget request stuff for next month and then you'll have it again.
Okay.
By
That way
then we'll
we
have
can-
some better
We can
numbers.
have a better aspect of what everything's gonna cost.
Yes, sir.
We
You
should
made
have
the
a quote
motion, I'll
back
second it.
from for the concrete.
Well, we still get the bids. I mean, there's no
Oh.
sense in that, yeah. Okay,
Sounds good.
All right, so we had a motion to table it. Secondly, all in favor of the motion until we have more information, or to, excuse me, to table it until we have more information.
Have a show of hands. I didn't hear everybody.
All in favor?
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Sorry. Unanimous.
Majority.
Okay. I think that was the last one, right?
Yes, sir.
Future agenda items. You already mentioned some more stuff about budget for pensions.
Yep.
Anything else?
before we adjourn, you said something about cameras. They're going up,
Yeah, it's in this year. I ordered them today.
who's gonna, I'm not asking who's gonna monitor, but where is the feedback gonna come to?
It'll go to the fire department and be
Okay, so who's
recorded
gonna
there.
Be reviewing that on a daily basis, weekly, or as
Just
needed?
as needed. It'll be.
Something happens, you can
Right.
go back and.
We're gonna have some put over there by the facing the bathrooms.
Yes.
Good.
I've got them taking all the old stuff out here in the next day or two, and then it'll be Wi-Fi. There's Wi-Fi out there now, so we'll punch it to the fire department. They can look at it from over there.
One
Well, as long as we
point
can-
to point was messed up, I think. The
Pardon me?
line of sight was messed up on the point to point, so they've since.
Yeah, because it can't go directly to the fire station because of the trees. So it has to go from that restroom building to the concession stand, then to the fire station. But those antennas are already in place. We just have to set that one up.
Maybe we can cut down on some of the graffiti and stuff like that on the
At
bathroom.
least catch some. Well,
Well,
I can't put it in the bathroom.
no, I understand that.
But I mean, we can see who's going in and out.
Maybe they're bringing up their paint can while they're going in.
All right, meeting's adjourned at 8:12 p.m.
Wish we could.